Hi, everyone. Did you know that according to the World Health Organization, over 264 million people of all ages worldwide are suffering right now from depression? That's right. Depression can impact every aspect of an individual's daily life, including their work, their school, their social relationships, and even their physical health. And a lot of people don't realize that. People dealing with depression often experience feelings of hopelessness and sadness and loss of interest in activities that they really used to enjoy. So it really just robs you of your quality of life. And they may also experience physical symptoms such as fatigue, sleep disturbances, and even appetite changes. And we're going to cover all of those topics today. Now, the impact of depression on an individual's daily life can really be severe, leading to difficulties in carrying out everyday tasks and affecting their ability to function at their optimal levels. Now, it's essential to really understand the prevalence of depression and its impact to provide support and resources to those who are struggling with this mental health condition. And so I thought that we would start out by exploring some facts about depression that you might not even know. And I think it's important to know these kind of things. So, for example, did you know that depression can physically alter the brain's structure? Now, stop and think about that for a second. Because prolonged depression, which most of it is, can cause changes in size and function of certain areas of the brain, including the hippocampus, which is responsible for our memory and our learning abilities. Think about your grandparents. Or you might be surprised to learn that depression is not just a mental health issue. It can also contribute to physical health problems such as heart disease, diabetes, and even chronic pain. So, I bet that you didn't also know that depression can be genetic. Depression can run in families, which clearly indicates a genetic component to this condition. And I know so many families with a long lineage of depression. And those with a family history of depression, like my family, by the way, may be more susceptible to developing the condition themselves. So if it runs in your family, chances are you'll deal with it at some point. But for me, the saddest part of the whole depression issue is that depression is often misdiagnosed because our mental health system absolutely refuses to properly train doctors. So what really ends up happening is that doctors have become conditioned by big pharma. Once they hear that trigger word, which is depression, they simply write a prescription instead of actually providing quality care for the patient that's sitting right in front of them. They'll often just refer you out to another doctor because they can't write you a prescription. It's disgusting, and that's exactly what happened to me for decades of my life. And so now I just call it out for what it is. And I get a lot of hate from doctors, but I don't care anymore because the doctors in America, in large part, not all of them, have become nothing more than drug dealing slaves to the pharmaceutical industry. And it's really sad, but that's been my own personal experience over the last 30 years of dealing with these types of issues. It's extraordinary to think about. You know, depression can manifest itself in many, many different ways, and its symptoms can often be confused with those of other mental health conditions, leading to misdiagnosis and improper treatment along the way. And that's why our doctors need specialized training on how to properly deal with depression instead of defaulting to a prescription pad. But let's talk about your depression, because after all, that's why you're here, right? The first thing I want to tell you is that depression is not a one size fits all condition. There are many different types of depression, and each with its own unique features. So let's go over a few types so that you can kind of get a general overview. First, we have major depressive disorder, and this is the most common type of depression, and it's characterized by a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest in activities that really once brought you pleasure, like I was talking about earlier. And then we have persistent depressive disorder. Now, this is a milder but longer lasting form of depression that lasts for 2 years or more. And I myself have dealt with that one as well. And then there's seasonal affective disorder. Now, this one's really common. And this is the type of depression that typically occurs during the winter months when there's less natural sunlight. And I love sunlight. It's very important to me. It's why I live in the desert in Las Vegas. And I've struggled with this type of depression myself. In fact, many years ago, I lived in Vancouver, Canada, and I love Vancouver. It's one of my favorite cities. But I literally had to move because it rained every day, and that doom and gloom environment was just too much for me to handle emotionally. It really affected me. And another type is postpartum depression. Now, this is a type of depression that affects new mothers and can occur within the first year after giving birth. And there are very specific, very successful treatments for that. Next, we have bipolar disorder, also known as manic depression. I've dealt with this as well. And it's characterized by an extreme mood swing with periods of high energy and euphoria, followed by deep, deep low periods that are consumed by depression. And then we have psychotic depression, which is a severe form of depression that includes psychotic symptoms such as hallucinations or even delusions. And I have experienced this with a lot of deeply, deeply religious people in the past. And it's essential to understand the different types of depression so that you can be vigilant about receiving the appropriate diagnosis and treatment on your end. You have to take control of this. So now that we understand what depression is and the different types to look out for, I want to explore some simple coping mechanisms that can really help you to begin to find some relief on your journey. Now, before we get into all of that, I think that it's really important to say that the coping strategies that we're going to talk about here today do not deal with the underlying root cause of your depressive issues. Think of it this way. If you aren't dealing with the root underlying cause of your depression, it's like putting a simple Band-Aid, on a deep bloody wound that really needs stitches. Yeah, it might provide you some temporary relief, but it's not going to come back, or it is, going to come back, and it often comes back with a vengeance. So if this resonates with you, reach out to us at Life Skills Masterclass because we can help you by identifying the root cause of your depression. We can help. So now that having been said, I want to discuss the very first place to begin when I'm working with my new clients dealing with this nasty little beast. And that is by creating the proper environment in your life so that you can begin making real lasting change. Because I assure you, if the right environment doesn't exist, you're just spinning your wheels. So over the years, I've developed a sort of house cleaning procedure to help create the right mindset for those changes to actually work. And it's all about making positive lifestyle changes, such as reducing the alcohol and the drug consumption, getting enough sleep, and maintaining a healthy relationship in your life. All of this can have a profound and deep impact on your depression. And sometimes it's just a few simple changes like these. That's all that's required to successfully relieve your depression. It's not always a massive undertaking, so to speak. Now, these changes may seem small to you, but they can create a ripple effect of positivity and loving self-care that can really be transformative over time. So, when we're consuming alcohol and drugs, what we're really doing often is attempting to escape the realities of our lives. And these substances can actually exacerbate the feelings of depression and anxiety and make the whole situation bigger and more difficult to deal with. So, by reducing or eliminating these substances from our lives, we are taking steps towards facing our challenges head on and dealing with them in a very, very healthy, life-affirming, positive way. Now, number one is sleep. Sleep is essential for our overall mental and physical health, and the lack of sleep can exacerbate your depression. And so I have a great podcast episode on how to get deep sleep, and I'll post a link to it on this page. If you can't find it, raise your hand in the comments and I'll send it to you. It's worth listening to if you have deep sleep issues, because it will give you a step-by-step strategy that will help you get the deep, meaningful sleep that your body and your mind truly, truly needs. So check that out. I promise you it's worth listening to. Because by prioritizing your sleep and creating a healthy sleep routine and environment, we can improve our mood and our ability to cope with life's difficult challenges, whatever might pop up in our world. And maintaining healthy relationships is also crucial for our mental health. As human beings, we are hardwired for that human connection, and it's vital. So by cultivating supportive and healthy relationships, it allows us to feel more connected and supported and fulfilled in our lives, which can improve our overall mood and our sense of purpose. That's a beautiful thing. So while it might seem difficult to make positive lifestyle changes, the benefits for our mental and emotional health are immense, and it will help you in your journey towards self-improvement. And I promise you, these things can be transformative. And that's why I always begin right there. Because like I said before, and it bears repeating, if the proper conditions do not exist for you to successfully deal with your depression, then you're just spinning your wheels and you're not going to ever really go anywhere. So the next strategy that I want to discuss is one of the most important people will overlook, thinking that there's no real value in it. And you're wrong. And that's your depression convincing you to say no. Because that's what our depression does. It will always default to no, especially if it's something new. So what is it? It's journaling. Seriously, don't dismiss this. Keep an open mind. Keeping a depression journal is a really valuable insight tool when you understand how to use it. And I'm going to teach you here today. Now, the act of writing down our thoughts and our feelings can provide us with clarity and perspective that we may not have been able to have access to otherwise. So journaling allows us to explore our emotions in a safe and non-judgmental space, giving us the opportunity to release pent-up emotions and gain valuable insight into our thought patterns. In many ways, journaling is a form of self-reflection that is allowing us to explore our inner selves and connect with our deepest desires and fears. And don't be afraid of that. By regularly journaling, we can track our progress, our identity patterns, and gain invaluable insight into the root causes of our depression. And I'm telling you that that is where all the answers are. So to successfully journal about your depression, I want to share with you my 3 most important tips. First, try to write every single day, even if it's just for a few minutes or just a few words. Now, you can even do it on your phone's notepad so that no matter where you are or what you're doing, you can jot down some notes that will be helpful to you later when you have more time to write at length. Now, this will help you to establish a routine and develop a deeper connection with your own emotions. Wouldn't that be a valuable thing? So, second, tip number 2, write freely, honestly, and without fear of judgment or criticism. This is the most important part. No judgment or criticism whatsoever. Just write what comes through you without any sort of labeling or judgment or anything like that. Just let it flow. This is your safe space to explore your thoughts and feelings. So be as raw and honest as possible. No one's going to read it but you. Make sense? Third, be open to exploring different ideas that come up through your writing exercises. Go there, go down that rabbit hole, see where it leads you. Sometimes a change of perspective or a different approach can lead to really big breakthroughs and insights. I've experienced this a lot with my coaching clients. When you read back through your journal, pay attention to the patterns in your moods, your thoughts, and your behaviors. Look for the triggers that may be causing your depression symptoms, such as certain people or situations or thought patterns that show up regularly in your writing. Take note of any positive changes that you've made and reflect on what may have contributed to those changes. That's really, really important. It's not all bad stuff. Overall, journaling can really be an incredibly powerful tool for gaining insight into your depression and finding new ways to cope and heal. But the truth is that most people won't even consider it because they feel their depression is too heavy or different for something as simple as journaling. But the real truth is that is a lie that your brain is convincing you is truth because it fears doing something new or something that it doesn't understand. And so I really encourage you to try this method. It's important. It's really an important key to have consistency. You have to do it for a good while to find your groove and make it a habit. And do it even when you don't want to, because that is often when the good stuff comes out. It's when you don't want to write. That's when you need to. The third area that I want to cover is what I like to call your circle of trust. By that, I'm referring to those around you, the closest people around you, or I should say those who you allow or choose to be in your circle of trust, because it's really under your control. Let's talk a bit about the current circle of trust that you have. Now, a circle of trust is a group of people who provide us with a sense of community and belonging and all kinds of positive, uplifting support. And it might surprise you that it's not always family. In fact, sometimes they may be the most toxic people to have in your circle of trust. You know, you want to select people who you can trust and who you can turn to when you're struggling the most. And let me give you my biggest tip right here and now. I want you to write this down and listen carefully. It's that important. When it comes to selecting your number one in your circle, do not select anyone who likes to gossip. Because everything that you tell that person will get exaggerated and it will get repeated all over town. I promise you. People who gossip and love to talk about other people are straight up toxic. Stay away from them. And by the way, if that's you, you need some soul searching. and to change your behaviors right now. When it comes to healing from depression, having a strong circle of trust can be incredibly beneficial. It was for me when I was dealing with it. You know, to ensure that your circle is filled with people who love and support you in your healing journey, there are 3 key things to keep in mind. First, be intentional about who you let into your circle. It's a privilege, not a right. Choose people who you trust and who you know are going to have your best interest at heart. Now, this might mean letting go of toxic relationships or setting boundaries with people who are not supportive. In my Facebook group, I have an entire training video in the featured section at the top about how to set healthy boundaries, and it includes a very important worksheet that will guide you every step of the way. So if you haven't already, be sure to check that out because it's really going to help you. Second, you want to communicate your needs clearly with your circle. Let them know what kind of support that you need and how they can best support you. That's really critical. People need to know. This may mean asking for specific things, such as a listening ear or help with practical tasks that you just can't manage at the moment. It's okay to ask for help. Third, make sure that you are also giving back to your circle. Now, this is so vitally important. Relationships are a two-way street, and it's important to give as well as receive. And I want to talk a little bit about this. It's important to offer your help and support your friends and loved ones in their own struggles, even in the midst of your own struggle. And be a positive source of encouragement and guiding light in their lives. You'll often get far more out of helping others in their struggles than you will when they're only helping you. And overall, a circle of trust can really be a powerful tool in our healing journey from depression. And it's really a great solid foundation. Build that circle of trust. Because by surrounding ourselves with people who support us, we can feel less alone and more hopeful for the future. Now, for those already dealing with stress and anxiety, maintaining healthy relationships can actually be a lifeline. When we're facing difficult times, it can be easy for us to want to withdraw from the world and isolate ourselves. But I'm here to tell you that that is the wrong decision. However, this kind of behavior only exacerbates our anxiety, and it will make us feel even more alone. So don't do that. Cultivating a supportive and healthy set of relationships, on the other hand, can provide us with that sense of belonging and that purpose that we might be missing in our lives, which could be the root cause of your depression. And so by surrounding ourselves with people who lift us up and support us, we can feel more confident, less alone, and face life's most difficult challenges. The journey towards self-improvement and self-care is not always easy, but it is worth it in the long run. I promise you. By making positive lifestyle changes and prioritizing our mental health, we can transform our lives and find a sense of peace and fulfillment that we may not have thought was even possible before. So if you're struggling with stress and anxiety, reach out to those around you and connect with others. And remember that you are not alone. The support and the love of others can make all the difference in the world, to be honest. And that's exactly why I created my Facebook support group. Listen, we all need each other. And in today's world, it can be easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we can just go it alone. We can do it ourselves. Especially when you're dealing with stress, anxiety, and depression. Because no one wants anyone to know we're struggling. We try and keep it a secret. We try and hide it from those we care about because of the stigma. And in today's world, the message that we receive from the media, from politics, and even certain religions often emphasizes individualism, self-sufficiency, and competition. However, this message is not only false, but it's also really harmful. Because as human beings, we are hardwired for connection and community, and we all need each other. But unfortunately, in recent years especially, America has become increasingly divided. And we are living in a me society where the focus is on individual gain at the expense of others. And so if you don't believe me, just look at the record-breaking profits of big corporations during the pandemic when none of you had money. They were making boatloads. This approach to life is not sustainable, and it's also toxic. And it leads to loneliness, isolation, and an overall sense of disconnection. And many of you watching this right now feel that way. And to create a better future, we need to get back to a we society where we care about each other and we care for each other. And this means recognizing that we are all connected and that our actions actually impact others, and so do our words. It means working together to create a better world for everyone, not just for ourselves. So by shifting our focus from me to we can create a society where people are valued for who they are, not just what they can contribute to us. Do you see what I mean? We can build relationships that are based on trust and empathy and compassion and love. And we can create a world where everyone has the support that they need to thrive. There's plenty for all of us, and we all need each other, and we're stronger together than we are alone. And so by embracing a we society and prioritizing our connections with others, we can create a better world for ourselves and for our future generations. And that is not depressing at all. It's time to go. But before I do, I want to express that depression is a complex and multifaceted topic that just simply cannot be fully explored in a format like this. So I hope that this class has provided you with some valuable insight and some coping strategies that can really help you manage your depression. If you have any questions or would like more information on any of the topics that we've covered, please don't hesitate to raise your hand in the comments below. You know, it's a simple thing to ask for help. I'll be happy to send you a link with a more in-depth blog post with additional resources and very specific important information that can support you on your journey towards healing and recovery. I'm so happy you're here with me. And remember that you're not alone, and there is always help available to you, even if you don't have the money to pay for it. Reach out to me if you need help, because I'm always here. Take care of yourself and each other. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.